Hi, I'm Megan Bro. I'm a student physical therapist at Central Michigan University. Today I'll be recording this video to share some of the important information and content that I learned during a recent continuing education class put on by Urban Polling. For this video, it's going to be best if you have a chair, somewhat sturdy. If you have poles, access to them. They do not have to be the specific activator poles, although these are the ones that the course recommended. You could also use PVC piping if you felt safe enough to do so, or just some generic walking poles. I will talk about these specifically because that's what they are endorsing, but anything like that will work as long as you feel safe and able to use them as a balance tool. You'll also want to have a glass of water because it might get a little warm. You can always pause the video for that, and have a few pairs of socks for an activity that we're going to do. Or you could also use like a dish towel or a washcloth. Anything of that sort will work. All right, so I want to start off by telling you a little bit about these poles. So there is a left and a right, and on top it tells you which is which. On each pole there is a little lip. This lip is for the pinky side of your hand to rest on. They are adjustable with this pin button right here. So I've already adjusted mine to my height of 5'3". Each pole is meant to hold up to 200 pounds, although they do recommend that when used together, the individuals should weigh either 250 pounds or less, just for safety of use. Another thing about the pole is that they are adjustable height. They have bell-shaped tape bottoms for support, so that's a wider surface area than some other walking poles. That helps absorb some vibrations while moving, as well as provide traction. So they say that they can be used on different terrain, such as snow and in the rain. All right, so we will be using these poles. They can be used as walking, but today we're going to be using them mostly as standing dynamic exercises. So to get the height that you want it to be so your elbow is at about a 90-degree angle. You're standing up nice and tall, and your shoulders are relaxed. So when that's the case, you should be able to stand like this. For different exercises, some of them you'll want the poles closer to your body, some of them you'll want them a little bit farther apart. So if you are using them for walking, you would want to, you want to swing with opposite arm and foot just like you do when you walk. So if I'm moving my right foot, I'm going to step with my left pole. And my left foot, I'm going to step with my right pole. So you want it to land so that the end of the pole hits the mid part or just in front of your foot. We won't be using them specifically for walking today, but just I wanted to educate you on that because that's how most poles should be used, with opposite arm and opposite leg. I know that's difficult for some people to think about, but if you just walk naturally, that's just the way you typically walk. So it will fall into place. All right. So before we begin, I just want to give a little disclaimer. This is true for any exercise program, but I want to make sure that you have checked with your doctor or your physician before performing this exercise routine to make sure they believe you are safe to do so. So shout out to my dog in the background. He wants to exercise with us today. So in conjunction with talking and getting approval from your physician, I also want to mention this scale that we commonly use in physical therapy called the RPE scale. I realize it is backwards for you, but it's a scale from 1 to 10. 1 is light activity, and 10 is more max effort, vigorous activity. So I want you between like a 4 and an 8. So that would be moderate to vigorous activity. So with that, I want you to know that it is okay to feel like you're sweating. It's okay to feel like you're a little bit short of breath, like you're breathing heavy. Those are all normal as long as you still feel safe and as long as you remember the number 1 rule, no falling. Okay, so that being said, just to wrap everything up for my introduction so I attended a course that had multiple different sessions, and they taught us how to use the poles, and then they taught us different populations that the poles should be used for. My classmates and I were all making different videos, so mine is specifically targeted for balance, and it can be used for any population, but I'm targeting mostly individuals with multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, and or just the older population, so to work on your balance. Balance is really important for a lot of different things in life, and we want to help minimize fall risk. So everyone is welcome to join. And last thing is there are a couple contraindications which are things that would make me want to have you double check with your doctor that you can perform these exercises. Those could be things such as vision difficulties, if you're currently using a walker, because progressing, getting less stable with these poles could be a little bit of a concern. If you are in a disease relapse state, it's probably not wise for you to do this right now, but you can definitely watch and get some tips for later, okay? Along with if you have increased spasticity or some moderate symptoms that make this either dangerous or difficult. With any of the things I do today, you can always regress them and make them a little bit easier. We're going to start off in a seated position, but we'll stand up for all of the exercise parts after the warm-up. A colleague of mine is doing the sitting ones, so you could check out that video, but you can always modify to what your level and what you feel comfortable with, okay? All right, so let's get started. So I'm going to move my chair up. All right, so I will not be playing any music for this video just because of copyright and everything with Central and posting this on YouTube, but feel free to add some music in the background for yourself when you perform this, okay? I'm going to tilt this down just okay. So to start with a warm-up, we're going to just have one pole to begin with. Once you get it set to your height when you're standing, that height should work while you're seated as well. So I want you to sit it on the edge of your chair, but you can be a little bit closer if you need more support under your thighs. So to begin, we're just going to do some stretching. So to do this, I'm going to have you hold the pole out in front, and we're going to raise your arms up above and take a deep breath in. If you feel comfortable looking up at the ceiling, that's great. If you have any shoulder problems or not enough strength to lift it, that's okay. Go as high as you can, or just as you do this, make sure you take the deep breath in and out. Good. In. So these poles are really lightweight, so that makes this activity for the warm-up nice and easy. But like I said, if you need to modify it, feel free to do that, okay? And out. So now we're going to do some circles just to get the arms warmed up. So I'm going to begin by going, in the video it's going to look like it's counterclockwise. So we're going to do 3 of them in counterclockwise and then 3 in clockwise. It doesn't matter to me which you do first, as long as we get warmed up in both directions. And the other way. And make sure you're trying to sit up nice and tall and just getting those arms warmed up and having good posture. So this is one use of the pole to get a warm-up in. You can also use them out in front. And we could do this clockwise and counterclockwise likewise. Good. And with this, you can kind of lean your trunk into it. Good. All right. So now while you're still holding your pole with both hands, we're going to do a twisting motion. So you can do it with your arms out in front or bent a little bit, whichever is more comfortable for you. So I want you to keep your legs facing forward, but we're going to twist to the side as far as you can, back to the front, and to the other side. Twisting is so important, especially after you've been sitting for a long time, getting things loosened up. It just helps your back feel a little bit better. Make sure you come back to the middle after each one, just so you're not going too fast or anything. Let's do one more to each side. Good. How is everyone feeling? If you need to take a break or anything, feel free to pause anytime throughout, okay? I'm going to probably run through the whole thing though. So with anything, you can add more repetitions if you feel like you need more of a warm-up or more of an exercise. If not, just follow along and you're welcome to watch the video more than once, or that's why the video is very convenient. You can watch it as many times as you want and save it for future references. All right, so next I'm going to have you, so this is another twist. So again, with both hands, but this time we're going to twist down. I want you to feel like you're taking your front hand and tapping like the outside of your ankle. We're getting close to it. Back up, into the other side. Just making sure you can see it. Good. And this helps get some more trunk range of motion and loosen things up. Let's do 2 more to each side. Good. Hope you're ready to have some fun. We're about halfway through the warm-up. All right, so now we're going to do some power moves. So for those of you that have attended any of my classes before or any of the move classes, our dance class on campus, our power moves are something that we really do a lot of. But right now I'm going to use them as a stretching exercise at the beginning. Stretching is so important, especially for people with multiple sclerosis. It just helps get everything loosened up and everything like that. So to start with for the power moves, so I'm going to have both poles right out in front of me. Feet shoulder width apart, nice and stable base. And I'm going to bend my trunk down. And when I come up, I'm going to push through the sides of my hands down into the poles, into the ground. And I'm going to open my chest up and look at the ceiling. Come back down. And now with this, if you don't feel comfortable or it's hard, don't go down quite as far. Just come down a little bit. And then come up. If you feel comfortable, look up at the ceiling. If that's too much, you don't have to. We're going to do 5 of these. So this is number 3. Look up. And back down. And up. And back down. 1 more. So like I said, these could be done at a faster pace. All of these warm-up power moves could be, but right now I'm just going to use them to get a nice stretching. So that was our power up. Now we're going to use what I call power twist. So for this, with poles in each hand, I'm going to actually hold 1 pole. So this is going to be very similar to what we already did. So we're going to twist to the side, forward. Good. Twist all the way around. And now I'm going to show you what it would look like if I'm using both poles. So you can do the power twist with both poles as well. So for this, I'm going to walk to the side and walk this one to the side as well, leaving my legs facing forward. So this, by using both poles, I'm going to bring it to the front and then to the other side. By using both poles, this allows you to have a little bit more stability than if you were to just use the 1 pole holding with both hands like I just did. And this allows you to pull into that stretch a little bit more. I'm going to do 1 more to the other side. Good. Now we're going to do a power step. So for this one, you're going to move the same arm as the side of the leg you're moving. So first I'm going to go to the right. It doesn't matter if you go to the left or the right, as long as you follow along, okay? So I'm going to move the right pole, right foot. Move my foot back and move my pole back. And with this, I really want you to focus on opening up those hips, getting a nice stretch between your legs. We're going to do 5 on each side. And when you go out and when you start to come back together, I want you to push into the pole, into the ground to use that as stability. It's a little hard to count and keep track. So I'm going to say we have 1 more on each foot. Good. Get that nice stretch between your thighs. Good. Now we have 1 more power move for the warm-up, and then we'll move into the exercises. So this is the power reach. So for this, I want your arms nice and wide, and we're going to reach up towards the ceiling and back down. And reach up towards the other ceiling. Kind of like you're trying to reach the corners of the room that you're in. When you feel comfortable with this, you can start to either drop a leg in and reach further, Or if lifting the pole is too much, you can just lean to that side. Ideally, I want you lifting the pole, but if you're not able to do that right now, that's completely understandable. But really stretch and feel like you're reaching to the walls. All right, good. So now we're going to move into the exercises. So for this, we're going to be standing. So I'm going to move the chair out of the way. Like I said before, you can modify and still use the chair for any of these, but one of my classmates is doing a video with the chair. So we're going to do things standing. So make sure you have your poles adjusted to the right height. So your elbow is at 90 degrees, standing up nice and tall, shoulders relaxed. So we're going to do balance exercises today. Balance is such an important thing and a big problem for a lot of people, especially those with multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, and the older population, like I mentioned. So one really big thing that physical therapists and all rehab professionals want to work on is balance. We do not want you to get fearful and stop walking, because when that happens, you become deconditioned, you lose some muscle, and you're more likely to have falls. So anything we can do to put that off and keep you moving and feeling confident, then that is helpful. So these poles are really good with helping to add some confidence to all of your exercises as well as walking. So to begin with, we're going to start with weight shifts. So to do this, I want your poles, they can either be to the side or in front of you. I like them somewhere in between. I feel like they're most stable. So everything with balance, it can be simplified down to keeping your body mass within the base of support of your feet. So the wider your feet are to an extent, the more stable you are, the less likely you are to fall over. Adding these poles gives 2 more points on the ground, so you have a bigger area that you're more stable in. So that's what these are used for. So to start with weight shifts, I'm going to have my feet a little bit wider than shoulder width apart, as you can see, and the poles out front. I'm going to step back so you can see the poles a little bit more. Out front and to the side of me a little bit. So I'm going to start by going left to right. It doesn't matter which side you do first, as long as you do them both. So I'm going to shift to the right, back to the middle, and to the left. As you do this, make sure you come back to the middle every time to make sure you're nice and stable, because if you go too fast, you can lose your base of support, or you can lose your balance. So once you feel confident doing that, you can start to lift your heel up off the ground like I'm doing. Good. And when you feel even more confident, go ahead and lift that foot up, or even that pole up. But I want you to make sure that you keep your other poles firmly planted on the ground. Another thing is, I want you to make sure your pole is nice and vertical and upright. That makes it, for the most part, that makes it so that you have the most stability that you can. Good. Now I'm going to have you stagger your stance. I don't care if your right foot is forward or your left. You can stagger the poles a little bit as well. I find that to be the most comfortable. So now we're going to go forward and backwards. I'm going to turn to the side so you can see that a little bit better. So we're going to go forward. I'm moving my weight and backwards. See how the poles are nice and upright throughout it? As you want to progress a little bit, you can lift that back heel up off the ground and lift the toes when you shift backwards. As you shift forward, lift the heel, back to the middle, and shift backwards. Good. Now we're going to switch and put the other foot out front. Again, you can adjust the poles. So shift forward, heel back down, shift backwards, raise those toes. Good. We're going to progress and do these. We're going to do 10 of them together, okay? If you can stick with me, then good. If you don't feel confident, then just do as many as you can during this time, okay? So I'm going to start with my right foot forward. So we're going to go forward, 1, backwards, forward, 2. Good. Make sure you kind of pause in between in the middle. Good. That's 4. Good. And back. And like I said, if this is too quick, feel free to slow it down. 1 more. Good. And you can always pause the video and do more repetitions of any of these if you'd like. So now we're going to go up onto, the next exercise is called up onto toes and heels. So for this one, it's very similar to the last weight shift, except now our feet are going to be level with each other. So again, shoulder width apart, pulls out in front just a little bit. We're going to raise up onto our toes. I want you to hold it for 2 to 3 seconds. Go back down to foot flat, and then raise your heels for 2 to 3 seconds. Again, push down into the ledge on the side of your poles. Those are to help you have more stability. Up, and lift your toes. Up, and lift your toes. Good. So this exercise is really good about strengthening the musculature around your ankles, and it's really important for if you were to lose your balance forward or backwards. This is the ankle strategy that you would use to try to keep your balance. So it's a really good thing that we're practicing it. Let's do 2 more. Up and up. Good. The next exercise, the physical therapist that developed this, he called them 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock exercises. Simply put, they're just turning. So in order to do this, I want you to picture a clock around your feet. In front of you is 12 o'clock. By your right foot is going to be 3 o'clock. Behind you is 6 o'clock. And by your left foot is 9 o'clock. So in order to do this, the number 1 rule is you cannot cross your feet. So I'm going to lift my right pole and then my right foot, opening up nice and wide. I'm going to turn a little bit so you guys can see. So lift the right pole, my right leg. So now my body is facing more of the 3 o'clock. And then you can either move the pole back and then your leg, or from this position you can move your leg and then the pole. I find it easiest to do pull, leg, leg, pull. Good. And now we're going to do the 9 o'clock. So that was turning to the right, and now we're going to turn to the left. So pick up that left pole, nice and wide, open up. Your left foot nice and wide. Bring that leg back together, and bring that pole up front. All right, now I'm going to square it off so you can see better. So to the right, we're going to do the 3 o'clock. So right pole, right leg. Leg back together, pull. Left pole, left leg back together, left pole. So I want you to keep doing these while I'm going to talk about them a little bit. So these are really important for turning, which is a difficult task for a lot of people. But if you can remember to not cross your feet, that's a really big thing. But also the poles help add some stability as you do that. Good. And you don't have to lift your leg as much as I am. In order to get the exercise part of it, I am, but as much as you feel comfortable or are able to, then that's still good. 1 more on the other side. Good. Now we're going to do wide feet and marching exercises. So for this, I want the poles nice and wide, and widen your stance more than it has been before. So a little bit more than shoulder width or wider than your hips. So for this, we're going to practice the weight shifts that we just did. So I'm going to weight shift to the right, and then this time, I'm going to lift my left leg up into a march. I'm going to weight shift to the left and march on the other side. Only lift your leg to march as high as you feel comfortable. If you don't even feel comfortable getting your foot off the ground, try to raise up on your toes. But if you feel comfortable getting your leg up, then good. You want your poles to stay mostly vertical, but they should move with you a little bit. That way you feel like you're keeping that balance. Good. So I was going to say we were going to do 10 on each leg, but since I've been talking, let's do 3 more on each, okay? Weight shift, lift, back together. Weight shift, lift, back together. And another really important thing that you saw I did right there is I don't want you to let your leg drop during these. I want it to be nice and slow and controlled. So that's one of the reasons why don't lift your leg higher than you can. It's good to practice and to try it because you never know if you don't try it, but don't lift it so high that like you can't control on the way down. You want to make sure all of these exercises are nice and controlled. Now this is where your socks come into play. Hopefully they're not dirty, but you never know. You got to walk around obstacles in your house. So I'm going to place these 2 to 3 feet apart on the ground, probably closer to the 3 foot mark. So you're going to start on one side of your line. So to do this, we're going to do side steps. So I'm going to lift my right pole, step it far enough away, my right foot, my left foot, and then the left pole. To do this, you got to make sure that you move your leading foot, so I'm going this direction, so this is my leading foot, far enough over that you have room to step with your trailing foot. So I'm going to do pole, foot, foot, pole. If you feel more comfortable doing pole, foot, that's okay too. Now that I get to this end, we're going to go back. So we're going to be starting with the other side. So this is really important to not cross your feet as well. As you want to progress or get a little bit harder, you can move your foot and your same-sided pole at the same time, but you don't have to if you don't feel comfortable with that yet. So let's go down and back 2 times together. So and this would be really fun to do if you got like a nice beat of a song going on, some music that you like. And like I said, you can do the pole, foot, foot, pole. It doesn't have to be all at once. Whatever you feel most comfortable with. You're still improving your balance. You're still exercising. You're still getting better. And that's what's important. So now I'm going to go ahead and pick these steps up and get them out of the way. Our last exercise is forward lunges. So I'm assuming most of you know how to do a lunge, but for those of you that don't, what you do is you step forward, you drop your front knee, and you kind of stretch out that back leg a little bit, and you come back together. So to do that with the poles, I'm going to have you hold the poles in each hand. The poles are going to stay mostly stationary, at least for now when you're beginning. So I want them mostly upright. You can start with either foot. I'm going to have you step forward so your leg is between the poles, bend down a little bit, and back up. On the way back up, did you see how I kind of pushed into the poles and my foot off the ground? That helps give me enough force to stand upright. And I'm going to alternate, but if alternating is too difficult, you can also do all of your repetitions on your right foot and then switch to your left foot. So let's do 5 repetitions on each side, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. And the lower you go, the harder it is. Just so you know, I'm going to turn back to the front so you can see what it looks like from here as well. So again, poles out nice in front. Let's do 5 on the other side. Forward, back. As you go forward, your back heel should come off a little bit. That's okay. As you get better at this exercise, one way that you can advance it, make it a little bit harder, is you can step with a pole at the same time. You could use one pole at the same time. Those sort of things, but for right now, let's just do both poles, but those are ways that you can definitely get them harder. So now we're going to do our little cool down. So I hope you felt like you got a good exercise in, and like I said, you can always pause the video and do more repetitions, more of these exercises, or just watch the video a second time if you feel like you want to go through it again. So to cool down, I'm going to have you place the poles in front of you a little bit, and feet shoulder width apart, and we're going to do some mini squats. So to do this, I'm going to show you from the side. So to do this, you're just going to go down just a little bit and back up. Act like you're sitting on a nice tall chair, like your favorite bar stool. And as we go down, we're going to take a deep breath in and blow it out on the way up. Deep breath in and blow it out on the way up. And again, you can push through those poles as you want. All right, so now we're going to do some of the standing circles. If you don't feel comfortable doing these in standing, you can definitely sit down. But these ones we can come up overhead and get a nice stretch those arms out. Gonna move in near the end of our exercise routine. Now we're going to do 3 the other direction. And again, if you want to go out in front, you can do that as well. Go this way. Good. Let's go around in front as well. So this one helps stretch out your trunk a little bit as well. So only lean as far forward as you feel comfortable. But this helps stretch everything out. Good. Now grab both of those poles again. We're going to do standing hamstring stretches now. So for this, I'm going to turn to the side so you can see. The poles are just out in front for stability. Place one of your feet up in front of you, heel on the ground, toes up in the air. So for this, I want you to bend your trunk forward just a little bit and pull your toes up towards your nose. This should feel a nice stretch on the back of your thigh. We're going to hold it for 10 seconds, okay? Good. And I don't want you to round your shoulders or anything. Keep your back nice and straight and just kind of hinge from the hips. Switch feet. Same thing. Heel on the ground, toe in the air, bend forward a little bit. Feel that nice stretch. So you got a good workout in. Now you're just stretching to get those muscles all, keep them nice and loose. We're going to do one more on each leg. Good. And we're going to do those squats again. So breathe in on the way down and breathe out on the way up, okay? We're going to do 5 of them. So shoulder width apart and down. I want to end with some twisting to the side. So if you feel comfortable, again, hold the one and just stand, keeping your pelvis mostly forward and twist your trunk, your upper body to the side, back to the front, and to the other side. I just think twisting is a great activity. It's good for especially these populations of people, but everyone could really use this. One more to each side. Good. Like I said, increase the repetitions you do these, practice them. The more you practice your balance, the better it's going to get. That's the only way it's going to work. Thank you so much for participating with me and following along. I hope you learned some new stuff today, just like I learned in my class. Thank you.